Hello and welcome to this latest installment of Tones of the Hammer, the podcast where we talk all things music, all things Hamilton, and today, every week that I do this podcast, I'm so blessed with the talent that's not only in Hamilton, but the real life rock stars that we kind of have around Hamilton. And today is no different, because today, on the Tones of the Hammer couch, everybody welcome, Jon Harvey.
Hey.
Big intro. It's big intro.
People always say stuff like rock star,
yeah,
right?
dude.
I've
You've just got the rock star look,
anything
man.
like that.
Really? There must.
Yeah.
I mean, you must have rock and roll stories, John.
It's a
Come
weird
on.
thing.
Which we will get into. Right?
Not a lot of stuff.
Do you not feel like a rock star these days?
No. Well, I mean, I don't think I ever have. I think I just felt like a normal guy that did his stuff.
Okay. So what in terms to do with them? What is like a rock star? What is the definition of a rock star?
I don't know. I
To
hope
me,
he thinks that I don't have the ego and arrogance associated with it, but
Okay.
probably do.
Okay.
Probably do, because the things you hate about yourself are the things that the things you hate about other people are the things that are most similar to yourself. So who knows how I really feel?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's somebody who's paid the dues. You've done tours, you've done big tours, you've done record labels, all that sort of stuff, which we're gonna get into. We've got loads of time to get into it. All right, we've got loads of time to get into it, but. We as ever with most of the people that come on here, usually we've worked together. You've been down at Halo a few times with your band The Wild High, but we don't get a chance to really chat and find out, a little bit about you, your stories. So I am fascinated to hear, how did it all kick off music for Jon Harvey? Like, let's take you back to, when you first picked, you're a guitarist, of course, so when did you first pick up guitars and stuff like that? Where did it all start?
I think I was... Well, it all started in church. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yes. My dad's still really religious, and
it's
one of those things. I grew up in the church, and I started playing drums.
Gotcha.
In the worship band.
Yeah.
I was a worship band drummer.
Yeah.
So it got me away from just sitting there and creating trouble in the seats. So I think everyone was pleased about that one.
Yeah.
But I started playing drums. My dad bought me a drum kit. I started playing with my next door neighbor, Guy. We'd play in his garage or in my basement. He had a guitar. So we started playing in bands when I was like 12, 13.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just went from there. We went to like 3 different high schools.
Yeah.
Because
church, I find a lot of time when people have started like the music journey in church, it kind of instills into you a lot of tight harmonies and kind of, playing in a band when you're really young and everything, right? It's kind of a good, I guess, foundation to start with sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Was that your experience?
Well, church was just better for me,
yeah.
Like socially.
Yeah, got you.
Like school, I didn't really connect with that many people. I went to like 3 different high schools, and it was kind of like an interesting teenage kind of growing up. But like, church was always like a mainstay for me.
I got
and then, I don't believe in any of it, but like, the social aspect of it that was really valuable for me personally.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of things too. Yeah, you are encouraged to sing harmonies and things, and joining choirs, and you do those church choir events where the kids have, the Christmas story about the 3 mice or whatever, you name it. There was one that we had that was like this. It was a talking book named Salty.
Okay.
Now, what a weird, unfortunate name, but it was because it was the Book of Psalms.
Ah, I see.
So he was Salty, the Book of Psalms. It made no sense. It makes no sense now. A giant blue book.
Yeah.
But we had to do these plays of this giant blue book. I remember being a mouse in one of those plays. But
heck yeah, dude.
That was the whole thing. And when I was 4, or I don't know, I think I was more than 4 or 6 or something. And my mom's got a picture of it somewhere at home. But I have a number 4 on my shirt.
Right.
That's why I probably associate it with 4.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I went in front of an audience, and I was like 6 years old, and I had to do a solo in front of like this huge church. And that's when I conquered stage fright, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't really have any stage fright now unless I'm by myself.
Yeah.
And I'm unrehearsed.
Do you play often by yourself at all?
No. I don't. See, it's fine. It's something to do and things like that. But I'm never rehearsed enough because I don't have the motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I like doing it with a group of people.
I get you. Yeah.
I don't even like the idea of like when I started Wild High. My initial idea was going to have my name and the Wild High.
Yeah.
But then I was like, well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Why do I want to be the center of any kind of attention? I'm singing pretty much fronting the band.
Yeah.
So it's going to be
you
the center of attention anyway.
Yeah.
Like why do I need to have that double ego weirdo thing? So I kind of just ditched it because I just I don't it's not as enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be when you're not comfortable it's not enjoyable.
Totally. And collaborating with people, playing with people, in essence, I think it makes you not only a better player yourself, but it's also just like, it's more fun. You get ideas that you might never get if you don't collaborate as a band and stuff, and just playing off the groove of each other. It really makes a difference, right?
I love it.
And the Wild Highs are pretty, I've seen you live a few times now, and it's kind of like, you're a live show kind of band, It sounds great.
Yeah, we're really like, that's kind of our happy place as a band. We just like to play. So it's one of those things where it's easy. Yeah. Get on stage, not nervous or not anxious, no anxiety anywhere ever, which is different than every other band I've kind of been in. Every other band I've been in, there's always been someone that's like,
yeah, totally.
You're like, oh man, just like, you're making me feel now.
Yeah, that's it. And it's all about that vibe off of each other, right? Which, we'll get into the Wild High for sure. But let's talk about those days because, of course, you were part of Monster Truck, of course, which everybody I talked to in Hamilton, whether that's related to music or not, knows Monster Truck and stuff. And that must have been such a exciting time for you to be a touring artist, record labels, all that sort of stuff, So get into it just a little bit. I'd love to know a little bit of how Monster Truck kind of kicked up and, some rock and roll stories that you kind of mentioned,
Well, we started 2008, I think. It was because our drummer and guitar player were in another band, and their other band was doing they were doing a reunion show for their first punk band.
Right, okay.
And so the other two guys in the band were like, well, what do we do if these guys are going to jam then? Well, let's just start a band. Yeah. So we started a band to open their punk rock shows.
Okay.
We played 3 of them or something like that. Yeah. And then we were just, it was good. So we just kept doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we decided at the beginning I wasn't the singer. And after we wrote 3 or 4 songs, and they were like, well, I guess you'll be the singer. And I'm like, okay. And then it kind of just went good.
Yeah.
And people say it was really fast, but it didn't feel fast to me.
Yeah, when you're in it, right?
Getting up and getting out there and actually starting the tour and stuff took a couple of years.
Yeah.
Which is relatively pretty quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just kind of had fun in the beginning. The beginning was just, and that was the purest time, and that was the time where it meant the most. We all lived in the same house. We practiced in the basement.
Yeah.
We soundproofed the basement. You could barely hear it from the street. It was pretty impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was great. We threw parties. It was just a great moment in time. We all still worked day jobs and stuff, and just raged in this house.
Yeah.
Which we ended up found out. In the long run, it was a mortgage fraud house, and we ended up getting evicted at one point. But it was great because we would I maybe 5 months before we were evicted, and we found out kind of that it was super fishy. And I'm like, well, let's just stop paying rent. So we just didn't pay rent for half a year. Yeah. Anyways, not a good thing to do, kids. Pay rent.
Yeah.
But pay your landlord off. But yeah, we just lived in this house. It was amazing. We had parties all the time.
Yeah, which I imagine, especially living together like that, it must bring out so many, so much total different vibes of living separately and then come together. It must be just collaborating all the time when you're in that sort of living environment, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, just kind of getting home, rocking out, down in the basement.
And we were not really that used to each other. At that point, there was no animosity. There was no sibling syndrome garbage.
Gotcha,
or any kind of hierarchy or ego stuff going on. It was just 4 dudes just having fun,
man.
And doing things and being excited about doing this thing together. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was one of those, it was like a real team, and then like everything, it went its different directions.
Yeah,
but in the long run, the beginning, it was fantastic.
Totally, yeah. Totally. And how was that transition, for a young pup like myself who's not done the whole touring thing as such to, that extent? How is that transition, did you find, from you're playing in the basement, next thing you know, you're kind of touring around the world? I know one of the first times we met, you said you'd played my hometown, which was so amazing to hear that you'd, traveling to the UK on business for music, man. That must have been a wild time,
It was great.
Yeah, such fun,
Well, the whole thing was, it was quick, man.
Yeah.
We got a manager, Joel Carrier. He does he runs Standalone Records and Bedlam Management, both of which we were associated with. But he was stoked on us, and he just kind of took us under his wing and was like, let's go.
Yeah.
And we started just doing stuff. Like we're in New York for some reason, and we're doing this and that. We're doing to the States, and then we're just like, okay. And we all basically to preface that, we all decided one day, sat on the couch, and we're like, okay, let's fucking do
this.
Yeah, like everyone's quitting their jobs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, that must have been such a
it was crazy.
Time,
my parents paid my cell phone bill. We all moved out of that house. I moved back in with my parents.
Yeah.
And then we started touring. And then we were on our first tour, and then we just kept getting offers, and things started filling in. And then it was at the point where it was like, okay, first year we did 3 tours, and then the next year we were doing more.
Yeah.
And then it got more to be like, okay, you want to go away for 3 months, and things like that. And it was like, okay, it's going fast. And then, our first time in the UK, we were in New York playing at Pianos, which is kind of like a showcase bar for the industry in New York. And people, it's like a famous bar, but it's really small, the 100 Club in London. But we were playing there, and we played our show, and it was okay. It was all right. I don't know, I think we were halfway through some weird tour with Seven Dust or something. I was half cut, and our manager comes up and he's like, you guys want to go to the UK in 3 days?
Fuck yeah, man.
I'm like, okay. He's like, do you, yeah? And he asked everyone in the band, and they're like, everyone's like, yeah. And he gets back on the phone. He's like, yeah, okay, we'll be there. He hangs up. He's like, okay, you guys are playing Download in 3 days.
Nice,
you guys are starting the second stage. So we played at noon on the second stage of Download, which is 20,000 still, 30,000 or whatever. So it's pretty wild. At that point, it was probably maybe 8,000 or 9,000.
Yeah, man.
But still,
dude,
we got there. We walked out on the stage. I'm like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
But that was our first time in the UK. And then after that, we went back and did the club tour, the small one. Played all the small little tiny places. All the little babies. And then we'd go back, and then it got a bit bigger.
Yeah.
And then we were playing the O2s and the Apollos and the smaller rooms, and then we were going back and playing the bigger O2 rooms and stuff like that, and then playing Download main stage and things. So UK was always great for us.
I can imagine.
But it was basically, if you want to put the ball in motion, the things were working out creatively almost perfectly.
Yeah.
So it went.
Yeah.
We had control of it. We probably took too much control of it, because we probably should have let the people that we worked with do a lot more work.
Yeah.
And have a lot more value for their opinion, because that's the biggest mistake ever, is getting into the music industry and thinking that you know anything, because it is constantly changing.
I can imagine.
The only thing you can do is come up with a strategy that you feel is going to work.
Yeah.
Where you are. And that's going to change in 2 months.
Yeah. And like you said, not be kind of closed-minded to advice or
gotta take it all.
Knows. Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to follow any of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But take it.
But listen to it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because even if it's bad advice in your mind, it's still advice.
Yeah.
And you still have an opinion from someone who's been there longer than you have, or is in a different viewpoint than you are. It's it's like working beside someone for your whole life, or for a few years, and then them saying, hey, when you do this, you kind of do that, but if you did this way, it'd be way quicker.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, no.
Yeah.
That's so ignorant. You gotta be man. Okay. And I get it.
You get that in every, you even get it in the recording side of the industry, right? Yeah.
Oh, big time. We fought everything. Oh my God. I was the most ignorant guy in the studio ever. The first Monster Truck record was a pain in the ass both times we did it.
Yeah.
Because I was a pain in the ass, and also other people were pains in the ass. But I was just a pain in the ass. I was like, nope, it's going to go like this. I want it like this. And then as you do it, you realize, oh, wow, actually, that could have been way better.
Yeah.
And I think the realization that you're wrong and being accountable for that is what helps you grow and become something a little bit better than just like a, bag of bravado, for lack of a better term.
Totally.
We used to walk in. I remember this one thing, Sweet Mountain River, one of our songs. I had a bass line, and it did not go with the guitar line at all. And our producer Eric was like, "You should change the bass line." Yeah. And I was like, "Fuck no." He's like, "What?" And I was like, "No, I like it."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh." Then a guitar player was like, yeah, okay, I'll just change what I'm playing. I'm like, yeah, you will. And every time I look back on that moment, seriously, there's a lot of things in life that you look back on. I'm 43, I'm old as hell. But when I look back on moments like that, I'm like, like what a missed opportunity to like maybe create something better.
Yeah.
Because then when I listen back to that bass line, I'm like, it's good. It's like, but who knows what it could have been? Like, who knows what would have that beginning or whatever that part of that song could have become? But it's just like, it's that ignorance that you lose.
Totally, man. That's great advice to any young band out there that's starting, I think. You know, it's like I say, I imagine looking back, like you say, it's kind of in the moment, it's probably like, oh, that's my creativity that he's trying to crush, right? But you're just, I
used to do crazy stuff like that all the time.
Yeah,
all the time. It was just like, you got to learn that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, all the things that you are obsessing over.
Yeah.
No one else is thinking about.
Yeah. And you mean that kind of terms of like recording, essentially?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything in life. Even like your normal life. Even when I'm on tour and you're making decisions with your band, like they don't know what's going on in your head.
Yeah.
And what you've been stewing over is of no consequence to their decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like communication is really important, but you also have to realize that, oh my God, maybe I'm going through something that shouldn't have its place here in this business.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's so interesting to hear.
Oh man,
like you said,
I used to shovel all my shit into my business, but now it's like, you have to realize that like it's a different thing.
Totally, because even, you know, again, we always talk about on Tones That Hammer that it's even the industry's changed so much, right? You know, it's probably so different from when you guys first started touring out. And the best thing is you take all that you've learned now and you take it into the Wild High, which is your new band, of course, right?
Yeah.
So for the Wild High then, leaving Monster Truck and, you know, going on to do your own thing of the Wild High, you know, with all the other talented members of that. So how did that spark up? What kind of came out? What was the, you know, inspo the direction with the band then?
Well, the funny thing is, I wanted to move Monster Truck in this kind of a little more country-ish.
Gotcha, yeah. Like
getting older
CCR
direction. Let's do a little bit more Southern Rocky, a little bit less, you know, hockey game. And like, it's kind of like,
that's the first time I saw you guys.
We were very hockey game.
Not that I hate
that. I love the fact that we were that. It's awesome.
Yeah.
We were a jock rock band. Sweet.
Yeah, man.
Not a jock at all.
Yeah.
But it was sweet to have that and that sound be that. But I felt like if we were going to continue, it'd probably be smart to more maybe like grow up a bit.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I wrote some songs and no one really liked them. So I was like, you know what? I feel like this is where I want to be.
Right, okay.
Like, I think this is speaking to me a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more structured songs, full like big harmonies, like a little bit more like
explorative. Kind of like, there's a lot more soul in it, I imagine.
A little more explorative in terms of tonally and things like that. Like we have a banjo in Wild High and like I play an acoustic guitar with one electric and like, you know, it's very, very much trying to cover a tonal spectrum rather than just punching you in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was the MO of Monster Truck. But yeah, it was more about finding where I fit and where my direction was going because I really didn't feel drawn to write like heavy songs.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so the Wild High, in terms of the songwriting and stuff, is it kind of you doing the songwriting and the other guys kind of producing around you, sort of thing?
We're kind of. Yeah, I write a shell of a song.
Yeah.
For the first few, because I had a bunch of songs written. Like I said, I had like 3 or 4 or 5 actually already done. So we just learned them. Yeah. And that kind of kicked everything off.
Gotcha.
So now Pete, actually our banjo player, has written 2 songs now that are in the rotation set kind of thing, and that's how it is now. Yeah. I'm just like, whoever wants to write. Yeah. Like, let's all write songs. This is our band. It's like we kind of want to follow an Eagles mentality where it's like not one person's a singer. Not one person, like there's no, this is a collective voice. Yeah. This is no one's individual identity here.
And as we were saying just before we started rolling, you know, the Wild High really, you've only been going like a year, you guys. So in a way, you're kind of still like even discovering the whole function of the band, you know, the whole vibe of the band, which is really fascinating to watch with you guys on socials and stuff. I've seen that you've been working out of your guitar player, Mike. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, Mike's studio, right?
Yep.
Which even just getting in the studio together and you know, it must be totally different, like you say, from going from working with the guys in Monster Truck, where I imagine you've had your whole what you're used to with that, and it's a whole different world that you're like throwing yourself into now.
It's really different. I think that it's a very easygoing world. I think it's intentional. Yeah. To be that way. I think we walk into situations where it's like, and even when we play shows, we played some shows at Big Rec, and that was like pretty big for us. Like Mike, our guitar player who records our stuff, he loves that band. Like, that's like one of his bands.
Yeah.
And I'm like, everybody, just
it's
all just, everything
you're
we do.
the guy giving the advice now,
this.
you see.
Well, because I know what it's like the other way.
Yeah.
And I know how to worrying. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Oh, no. And then every time you do something like that, it's like this, I was watching this whatever meme video thing on the internet. I follow all these philosophy and like positive mentality things because it's fun. And this one person was talking about how if you focus on negative and put your mindset in a negative way, all you see is negative because that's what you're focusing on.
Yeah.
But if you switch it and focus it in a positive way, you're basically only seeing the positive things. Totally. And then you can manifest positive instead of thinking the negative ways. And literally what I was getting to is manifesting negative. So like you forget to turn your tuning pedal off because you're so freaked out. You know what I mean? There's so many times where I was in I was just so embarrassed for the other guys in Monster Truck for these moments only. But there's like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe more. They would argue there was more. It happened quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm kind of absent-minded when I'm put in stressful situations, and being in that band was stressful.
It's easy to do, man, right?
But like, we'd hit an arena, we'd get out there, we'd be like, all right, ready to go. And I'd plug my bass in, and I'd walk out to my microphone, and we'd start a song we have called Don't Tell Me How to Live. It starts with a guitar and me singing. Yeah. And then everyone kicks in. And I, at least 3 or 4 times in full arenas opening for Nickelback or Deep Purple or whoever, I wouldn't turn my tuning pedal off. So when that whole thing kicked in, no bass, and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. And there's nothing worse than being a bass player and hitting a wrong note. Yeah. There is no...
It's the balls of the band,
There's no rock band a fuck up that even comes close to matching a bad bass note. Yeah. That is just it is the cringest thing. Before I even knew that cringe was like a thing, that's how it made me feel. Like,
I can't imagine.
Like steel wool. I hate the feeling of steel wool, and that's what a wrong bass note is.
But you learn from these things, right? And these things do happen.
And I'll never put it. See, it's if I had just been like, looked back there and been like, oh, tuning pedals on. Turn it off, walk back up. It's all mindset.
And that's it. You get focused so much on doing something else that's so stupid and exactly like you said, worrying about the shit that doesn't matter. That then something as simple as whacking your tuning pedal on that does matter, all of a sudden
you're everywhere else, right?
To the
like
back
your brain's everywhere else. So I'm just like blanked on this tuning pedal. I tuned. Bass was in tune. I turned it on, tuned it, just walked away from it. I guess that's how it goes, though. I mean, and that's the difference. Like, especially in those high stress situations. Even now with Wild High, I broke a string in the middle of a song at one of our shows. It was like a solo, so I'm just took it off. Grabbed my other guitar, came back back in. Man. I was like, wow.
If BB King can do it, Jon Harvey can do it.
It would have that would have like frazzled my brain in Monster. Oh my God, what happened?
Interesting.
But then in Wild High, it's just like, woohoo. So I think live and learn, right? You when you have intention to be positive and to have those kind of things, I mean, it just manifests.
So it's been a summer of playing shows with the Wild High and stuff. So in terms of, what's the plans for you guys? I know you, I was so blessed to have you guys down here rehearsing because, now every time I feel so cool when I go to see you guys play, especially when you're playing your shows this summer. And I was like, I know all the words to this song because I heard you guys play it at least 5 times in rehearsals here, which is great. So what's the plan with music coming up that you're recording at Mike's? I know you've been working with Michael Keogh. We just had on Tones of the Hammer. If you've not checked that episode out, go and check it out. What's the plans with releasing album or singles? Or
we're gonna be that band that never makes a record.
All right.
Because I don't like that idea.
Love it.
And then we chatted about it, and I don't think anyone else really likes it. Yeah. So the idea that 8 to 10 songs, that's a lot. That's a lot of life.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd rather work in 2 to 3 song chunks.
And it's the way people seem to do it now, right?
Well, I mean, really, it's the way I like to consume it. It's the way they did it in the 50s.
Yeah.
It's not like we're moving into this
That's
crazy future way. It's like everyone released singles in the 50s.
Yeah, that's
and they were 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
So,
but do you know, I never thought about that, actually. That's so true. Just,
we're reverting back to basically, you know, supply and demand kind of thing, but it's so niche now.
Yeah.
There's so much of it that it's harder.
Yeah.
Back in the day, in the 50s, they're just like, here's a new song. And everyone's like, it's a great new song.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And then the next one, and then,
this song was big, and then the next song was big.
I think, Elvis built his career off like 1956. I think it was something like 8 singles that were on number 1. And, exactly how you say that. So, it's a good
So
way
now
to
we're
do
kind of going back there, but it's consumed completely differently.
Yeah.
So I just feel like if I put out a record, or we put out a record, the band, or me personally, I don't know. If anyone puts out an album, it's like all that work for like 20 minutes of well, I don't even want to call it airtime. What do you call it? You know, social awareness. Maybe social media awareness. You get 20 minutes of that for 6 months of work or however long it was. So why wouldn't you just release one song and then get, you know,
and I imagine,
times.
Even,
or 10 times.
Exactly.
It just doesn't make any sense to me the other ways now.
Yeah. And even the idea of recording it over a spectrum of time, you know, even, you know, not like this is the album, but everything's got to like match 8 songs have got to sound all kind of connected and stuff, you know. Well, whereas you can imagine like doing different singles, it's like, it doesn't matter if this guitar tone is a little bit different to like the last single, right?
And I think the idea is once we get in a rhythm, if I can get to where I want to with releasing singles, at the end of the year, you just release like a yearbook.
Yeah.
And you can only get it at shows, and it's only pressed to vinyl.
Great.
And only do 500. And then every year
cool
you do
idea.
that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's there if you want it, because people don't really want it. Does anyone want more shit?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if I would buy
that shit, man.
It appeases that collector vibe.
Yes.
But it also like it makes it so you can do a whole year.
Yeah.
And you know, at the end of the year, you have like your cool album cover. And like, here's what happened in 2025.
Yeah,
you know? And then in the next year, you know, maybe you release a calendar.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
Every track has a 45 on it, or it's one of those weird floppies. That's super cool, actually. But
thinking outside the box, though, that's what you got to do these days, right?
All I want to do. The convention is dead, and the idea that we have to adhere to any kind of convention now is that it's antiquated. And the most horrible part about this whole thing is the people that suffer the most are the fucking studios and the recording engineers and the producers, because
it's your thing.
There's no money in that shit anymore.
Yeah, it's hard.
Because we're all like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
You know, the bands can't afford it. The labels can't afford it.
Got to get creative. That's what you got to do.
Canadian government can't afford it. They used to afford it.
Yeah, they used to.
They afforded a few records for me in the past.
Yeah, they used to sponsor things and grants.
Well, I mean, in fact, they still do.
Right?
I mean, the grants are still kind of there, but it's a hard thing to justify.
Yeah.
In this day and age when people are suffering. Right?
Yeah, there's a lot of different priorities out there these days, right? You know,
so it's a hard one, and I think that's the weirdest hit. I never saw that one coming.
Yeah.
And all the booking agents are laughing.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's like the recording industry has become it's the only thing that kind of suffered. Because they basically, Spotify streaming services took your work and
totally, man. And they love doing their Spotify Wrapped every year. That's what everybody looks forward to. Have you done yours yet? What's your Spotify? You don't do that? Okay.
No, I can't. I don't have Spotify. I do Apple Music.
Yeah, I do Apple Music too.
Apple doesn't need your money.
Yes.
That's why I do it. Yes. So I find their stuff's a little bit more artistic and a little bit more music centric.
Yeah.
Than Spotify just be like,
and the quality is better too. The quality is better if you want to get into
Spotify
stuff,
always to me felt creepy.
Yeah.
Just a creepy thing.
Yeah.
This guy who's not even a music guy is doing this thing.
Man, yeah.
It's just, I don't know, man. Everything about that turns me off. Although I do remember when I first found out about it, we were in Halifax opening for Slash, and the Slash's drummer, Brent Fitz, came up to me. He's like, have you tried streaming, man? I go, what? He goes, streaming. I'm like, what the hell is that? He's like, well, he's like, you do like Napster and like MP3s and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I got my iPod here, you know what I mean? Like I have my 30 gigger. And he's like, no. He's like, you pay like per month. You don't own anything, but you can listen to anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? he showed me it, and I was like, oh, this is
man.
This is now the iPod.
Totally.
I'm like, oh crap. Like, so now I have to pay a monthly fee instead of just paying like $400 for this device.
Yeah.
But it's kind of wild, and since then it just went crazy. But I was always just like, this can't be good.
Yeah, I know.
It's like too good to be good.
Yeah.
It's like cryptocurrency.
It's so wild, man. Yeah, it always turns up every week, you know. It kind of ends up leading into talking about this kind of streaming and you know. So what's your thoughts on, you know, what's the future of music, man?
I don't care.
What is it? You know?
The craziest part is I don't.
Yeah.
And I want to.
Yeah.
And I want to know what's going on, but no one knows.
Yeah.
I have friends that are managers. I have friends that run labels. I have friends that are booking agents. I have friends that work for promotions companies. None of them know.
Yeah. How can you predict it, man? Yeah. How can you predict it?
The ones who aren't sure are worried.
Yeah.
The rest of them are just like, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, no one knows.
Yeah.
And people change the
and
whole...
I get, yeah. I mean, there's the view. I guess there's the view that, like, you know, I'm sure throughout the 20th century, you know, people saw the invention of digital and they thought it was all over when digital came along, or, you know, the whole, you know, like you're talking singles from the 50s, people start making albums, all of a sudden it's like, oh god, you know, it's even that's a change, you know. So maybe it's just something that we need to embrace and just kind of use it to its advantage, right?
We just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's still really early, you know, AI, all that.
We still don't,
you know?
no, we just don't know how to change yet. Humans don't understand how to adapt.
Yeah. They don't like it either.
A normal way.
Yeah.
Just easy. Just ease yourself into it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that hard. Yeah. And like,
I love the optimism and everything there.
The fighting of it.
Yeah.
The fighting of this change is the thing that's the most frustrating. Because it stops it from happening.
Yeah.
And then everything else. But like, AI is certainly the devil. That's all. It's the end of that's the end of the line right there.
Yeah.
You can't fight change, but that's one we should have chilled on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's hard to know which direction it's all gonna go in, and it's not just, you know. I was even thinking about this the other day. It's like, I always remember when probably like, I don't know, 5 years ago, I paid someone $75 to write me a bio for you know. Now ChatGPT does it in a second, you know. I
was talking to a guy that works in PR. He's talking about the AI playlisting.
Yeah.
It's coming. Yeah. So you're going to be able to just say on your phone, I want a good time. Well, the example I got was, I want to see a band, or I want a playlist that reminds me of this vibe at this location in this era.
Yeah.
And then it's just going to go, and you're going to be like, doop, and then everyone's going to be like, oh,
that's so cool.
And then we're all gonna be like Wall-E.
Yeah.
There's gonna be garbage everywhere. But and we're all gonna be fat floating around in these things.
Yeah, totally, man.
But that's kind of it's the drive for convenience has ruined our culture.
Totally, man.
But I mean, in a positive way, it has also advanced a million things.
I was talking about this on another episode. Is like the idea of like, do you know how I do find it amazing that is like, if I want to listen to a record or somebody suggests something, I don't have to go to a record store and save up to buy the record that I might fucking hate, and then, you know.
I loved that though. I loved hating those. You buy three of them down the indie store, you take them home, and one of them's like, oh wow. I've never. And you didn't know which one was popular. Like, you bought the bad record of this band. You're like, I heard this one's like, your buddy comes over and is like, oh no, not that one.
I was going to say, you like it, and then you find out it's not the cool one.
It's not the one, man. Yeah. And then you hear the one that's the one, you're like, oh,
I get it.
I thought these guys just suck. That happened to me so many times.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Obscure band.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But like, that was fun. And I like the idea of finding out about bands from other people rather than, I still do that. I follow like jazz and different, kind of, I guess, discovery. They break new things. There's one called Jazz Dispensary on Instagram. They're great. They're just like mostly like fusion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They post memes that are so nerdy I can't even like, half of them I don't even understand. I'm like, I gotta look it up, and I'm like, oh
yeah.
Alice Coltrane, I see. But like, it's very
jazz is its own world out there in the music industry.
Oh man, but that's the kind of thing. That's where the new things are happening. It's funny enough, like even with the Wild High, like I've been listening to at my job, I've been listening to like nothing but country radio.
Yeah.
And man, is it ever crazy. Some of the songs are amazing, and some of the songs are
so like trash. Yeah.
But it's the same with every radio.
Yeah.
Pop radio is the exact same thing. Rock radio is the exact same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a funny thing to get like immersed in that kind of thing. But it's like, country radio is the only radio playing new music. Rock radio isn't playing any new music.
Yeah.
None of the other ones. But I listen to country, every song is like a new song.
Yeah.
Every once in a while they throw in like a Shania.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's weird.
Yeah, I find a lot with it sometimes. You listen to country radio and it is sometimes like, for all I know, it could be like kind of an AI bot that's made it all, because it does sound very like...
It should be.
It should be, yeah. It probably should be. Maybe, you know...
The country bot.
Yeah, the country bot. I like that.
They should make one. They should have a country bot. Hey,
Yeah.
country bot, we need a new song.
Yeah.
It's about dirt.
Somebody literally did this, I'm sure. I've seen a video of somebody.
There was one about beer I saw.
Yeah.
It was like AI country song about, write me a hit song about beer.
Yeah.
But I was listening to the radio today and I heard at least 4 songs about dirt.
Yeah.
Specifically, just dirt.
Just
and how much it costs.
Yeah.
It's like they all latched onto one idea and went with it.
Yeah, that's
This is expensive dirt. It was literally like that. It's like, this is my dirt.
Yeah, man. Maybe this is the next Wild High tune, dude.
Dirt? Maybe I should write a song about
dirt.
write
a
dirt
song
bikes.
Yeah. Change it up a bit.
We're wild over here. We don't just like dirt.
Dirt bike.
We like dirt bikes.
Yeah. Definitely cooler than just dirt, you know. It's more open to that.
From monster truck to dirt bikes. I'll never learn.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but I mean, really, that's what you're looking for, right? And this whole thing is looking for newness. You're looking for being on the cusp of something
fresh. That's
and that's what we lost. That's what streaming took kind of away from everyone. That's what social media kind of took away from everyone. Because even the stuff that your buddy would have told you about, you see it firsthand. You get to have a judgment before. Yeah, and I don't like that.
Yeah, 100%.
There's no recommendation.
Yeah, and it's even that. Human can, like you were saying, even like, you know, the time of living when the guys in Monster Truck living all together, somebody brings on a new record and it's like, shit, you know, that doesn't exist, that kind of culture anymore, right? You know,
it's a wild thing.
It's a way to kind of like, I guess, for bands to grow, sort of thing, you know. So on I guess on that topic then, John, what's the top? I don't know. What's your top 3? I know this is always a hard question, but what's the top 3 inspos for you as a musician? What's the kind of, you know?
I think right now, I just like stories.
Yeah.
Any story.
So you got, I guess that's kind of going down the country road.
In that way, but like, I don't want to write stories about Bush Light.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, or
damn
like,
it, man, I was waiting for that song.
You know, I don't want to write anything, you know, Bacardi or anything like that.
Yeah.
I prefer to like, I want reasonable stories.
Yeah.
I'm all about human interest now. I used to hate that stuff when I was younger.
Yeah.
But the idea that that's the most interesting stuff. You know, politics, that's not interesting.
Yeah.
Religion, not interesting.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing is like the energy between two people, or the energy between a family, or sticking up for someone that you love, or like, and all these weird chivalrous things that country is. Maybe like maybe I'm just like a I don't know, romantic or some kind of like a dreamer, but I like the idea of you know, of having a standard.
Yeah.
You know, and that honor.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and staying true and helping people and like being, you know, accepting and open and like that kind of thing. It's I don't know. It's hard to find.
That's kind of what country's been for a lot of people. I imagine, you know, in the past sort of thing.
A lot of people are crazy, and there's a lot of crazy racism. Like, But the crazy the thing that I like so much about it is just the storytelling. They're trying to write these. They're just trying to give you something. Yeah. You know, listen to this. Here's a couple cute little lyrics. Yeah. Enjoy yourself. Yeah. Like, I don't want to hear about your pain. I don't want to hear about someone else's pain. I don't want to hear about like what you don't like about the government. Yeah. I don't want to hear about. I feel like we've had, you know, I feel like there's been, especially the whole thing with writing, you know, political things and stuff. Yeah, I think there's a feel. Everybody's got their soapbox sort of thing, right? But it's kind of just like. Especially now, we see it on our screens every day, sort of thing. It's I think music's the kind of the getaway for people at the minute, right? Yeah, sing me a song about your cat. Yeah, sing me a song about walking to the store and getting a coffee. Yeah, the wacky bird that you saw. Yeah, dude. Like, take us back to the 1990s. Yeah, man. I love the tune Maggie by Chris Stapleton, man. It's about his dog, and it's just so yeah, dude. See, and that's the kind of storytelling I'm talking about. That's it, man. It's not. It feels like it's not egocentric. No. And that's important, I think, in songwriting.
And also, like you say, it's got that classic standard vibe about it as well. Like, you know, it's
timeless.
Yeah, timeless.
And that's, I think, that's my goal. Kind of. I don't want to say I'm going to write timeless songs, but that's what I try to do. I try to write something I could fit into any era at any point.
Yeah.
And just like chill.
Yeah.
Good vibe. Bring it in. I just finished writing a song about going to the cottage with an old buddy. And it sounds so dumb, and I would never write a song like that before ever in my life. But sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna chill on a dock.
And that's the nice thing, like you say, of like going from, like you said, in your face rock with Monster Truck, which is great, of course. But like, it's kind of good it's so good for you now to be able to write music like that, because I can't imagine you ever presenting a song like that to Monster Truck and being seriously like, let's play this one at Download, guys. You know?
It's not really but it's fun to not have to worry about like saying something.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Yeah,
My opinion's
totally.
not really worth anything. Everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah.
And you get to see it all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for no one to have one.
Yeah, dude. I love that attitude, man. Yeah, that's it. All about, like, especially when you've had that kind of a success, you know, sometimes although the success is great, it's I imagine, like you say, you kind of get pigeonholed into that thing. So it's kind of like, it's good to just change things up.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, and you get older and you live it. I mean, Monster Truck hasn't played in a long time.
Yeah.
I had left about a year ago, so it's like, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I think I've been sober for a year, so my whole entire mindset's different.
Yeah.
So it's like
a lot of change going on.
Yeah. So
good
in very good ways.
Well, there you go.
Happy
you know,
times, man.
Everybody tells me they feel better when they go sober. They kind of wake up nicer and things like that. You know.
Well, I think for me it was time.
Yeah. It's when you're in a rock and roll band, that's how it goes, right?
I had a lot of years of just carefree whatever.
Yeah.
It was time to. Well, I knew that if I continued carefree whatevering, as I call it, I wouldn't have been able to do what I wanted to do with Wild High.
Yeah.
And I think that it's definitely helped us just stay focused and do the right things.
Interesting. Okay.
Someone's got to be steering the ship, man.
Heck, dude. Yeah, man. You know, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, they got silver, turned vegetarian, all that sort of stuff. They're still rock and roll.
The smart, old people that are smart, they stop eating sugar, they go vegetarian. Start walking every day.
Heck yeah.
I'm telling you, man.
Got to keep moving, dude.
I'm just counting the days so I have to stop eating sugar.
I know.
Do not want to.
Yeah, that sucks. That sucks. But you're not there yet, John. You're not old, mate. I know you say
I got 20 years or so.
You say you feel old, but you're not old, man. You are rocking it. So in terms of have we got what's the plans? What's the next release? I'm dying to know.
We're gonna put something out in like beginning to mid-February. I haven't thought of a solid date yet, but we have a song called I Want to Get Paid. Great. That's coming out then. Yeah. And then we're going to keep just recording and releasing stuff every 6 weeks or so, hopefully.
Great, man.
And then at the end of the year, we're going to do hopefully 8 or 9 originals and then acoustic versions of all those songs, and then hopefully 3 or 4 cover songs. And then just keep on putting stuff out and having fun and playing shows.
Yeah, man. I'd love to see like a live EP or something of you know what, I think that'd be so cool to like listen to, you know.
We've been demoing most of our stuff live now, just like and it sounds really good. So like, we don't know, we might do something.
I think that's kind of that CCR vibe that I was talking about earlier, you know. It's going in that southern rock sort of vibe.
That's the way.
Yeah, dude, we're so stoked. We're so stoked. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming down. Much appreciated it. You know, I've been trying to hook this up for so long. Finally, we found time to get here, right? You know?
Absolutely, man.
Life's busy moving out of the rock and roll world and into the new silver,
back into regular life.
Yeah, dude.
Being a Joe, love it.
Being a Joe.
The working Joe.
Yeah, dude, but it's good to be down to earth too, right? You got the whole family thing going off and everything.
I think being creative for money is a hindrance.
Yes. Okay, that's an interesting.
Until I think the best place to create is when you don't have any money. Yeah. And then the best place to market that is after you get some.
Yeah, totally.
So do all your best work in the years before you have money, and then just use that for the rest of your life.
Of course, exactly like you just said, exactly like we've been talking about. I think when when you're striving for that money, you've kind of got nothing to lose, right? So you're just pushing your creative boundaries to the limit and using them to the best, that you can get out of it, right?
So the spot.
Yeah, dude. So stoked. Well, thank you for coming down, John. If you have not checked the Wild High out on social media, where can we find you guys on social media?
Our TikTok is at the Wild High.
Oh, you're on
our
TikTok.
Instagram, yeah,
nice.
we're young and hip. We're on TikTok.
Cool.
Don't let the gray fool you.
No.
And we're also on Instagram at the Wild High Band.
Nice stuff. And check it out on iTunes, Spotify, all that sort of stuff if you haven't already. And be sure to subscribe to Tales of the Hammer if you've not subscribed already, and you'll never miss an episode. Thank you, Mr. Jon Harvey. We'll see you on the next episode, guys.